What's going on, everyone? Vampyr Gaming here, and in this video we're gonna kind of talk about, just wanted to put one out, just kind of I feel like a lot of things shifted just here post Nat, so kind of just wanted to talk about that. Also, shout out everyone I met at Bandai Card Fest. It was an absolute blast. I really appreciate meeting you all. It was very cool. Had a great time. Events always cool. But of course, now we kind of get an idea. This was, of course, our high-level competitive. We get a good idea of how this competitive scene is going to shake out. If you haven't already seen on Eggman events, you can kind of see Blue Dofi still dominated the large size of pie for total top 32s, which isn't a huge surprise. But of course, Mygo and my friend CrossAI brought home the whole thing and with BY Luffy, which, if you had watched my video, I literally, my Nationals tier list mentioned BY as S tier, and the thumbnail said, "Is this deck winning Nats?" And what do you know? So shout out my boy for making me right. Congrats again. But before we dive in here, if you can just do me a favor, see this link right here, YouTube video description. I'm also going to throw it in the comments, so you can do that if that's a little bit easier for you. But you can click that, shop TCGPlayer. I will earn a small percent on any purchase you make, and it helps me. So if you think you might buy some singles, just click it. Doesn't hurt. Helps support me a ton and support the channel by absolutely doing nothing. So first off, I really want to talk about EB01. And then at the end, we'll kind of talk about just some like meta cards, and we'll kind of just make our way through it. We'll talk a little bit about cards that have gone up, a couple cards that I think are interesting, and then we'll finish off with just did the results move any markets. So first off, I really want to talk about EB01. EB01 was not available from my understanding, was not available at Bandai Card Fest whatsoever. PRB was, but EB01 was not, whereas it was originally at the first one in Dallas. So this has really gone up a lot, and you can kind of see here some sales, 280, 300, 280, and people buying a decent amount of them. And we're just going to talk about this full set as a whole, but it hasn't been restocked, obviously. I think a lot of people were hoping it was at Bandai Card Fest. You can open this and just like not go neg. But we're going to talk about the whole set as a whole just briefly, because I think it's important. So like Brook, I mentioned Brook. Brook has made his way back up. Brook was actually on a big decline, and because he wasn't being played in Lucci. Lucci obviously just got second as well, and now we see it right back where it was. But this card, I got rid of one at 21. I got rid of one at around 21, and it's well over that once again. As you can kind of see right here, 28. So he's back to 30. I mentioned him, I think, around like, it's a great opportunity to pick one up. So if you picked one up, amazing, congrats. And then kind of just want to talk about, like, I think the leaders, if one of these, like, none of these leaders are inherently bad, and I think these leaders have the biggest potential to become expensive. If one of these leaders becomes meta, they're going to be like some of the most expensive leaders. I mean, we have some of the most expensive cards. Bond Clay is sitting here at lightly played at $60. I was telling people, I mean, this card is so good in Purple Luffy, and I think some of the lists were running it as well, and really shows. And then of course you got Laboon. So many things in here. Bokuwa Doctors down quite a bit. I think it's a great opportunity to pick up these if you don't have them, especially like the alts, because we've seen the alts do something kind of crazy. But even the supers, because they're down quite. This one's still around. I mean, it was like 15 for a hot minute, but this one's 22. I think I paid 35s for mine. If you're looking to collect So-So or Sao-So, I don't know which one it is, but I feel like it's So-So. I think this is a pickup just for the collection. But yeah, a lot of cards here, and then everything is pretty much a hit. I think it's just, at this point, it's important to have this stuff, because I feel like it's not going to be in PRB02 when we get PRB02, assuming we get PRB02. But they wouldn't have 01 if we weren't going to get 02. And yeah, then Brook, again, he was sitting here 18, 19, and I mentioned him on the channel. This is a great opportunity to pick these up, because he was 40. He went down a lot, and now he's on his way back up. And then, of course, BY Luffy just won. No surprise there. We do see a lot of sales. Some here, somebody paid 80 And these were, of course, these were actually very cheap, and now they're not. I think this is slightly overvalued. And then you, of course, have the Premium Leader Collection, which is now the cheaper version. For the longest, the Premium Leader Collection was the #1 version, but here we are. And, of course, Ace, this is overpriced and makes me sad because I really wanted one of the... I won the set, but I wanted an individual one open to play with if I ever decided to play BY Ace. And now I'm just never going to have that because they're not $20 anymore. We're not in Kansas anymore. Was 20 forever, but now is not. So it is what it is. But I think this is overpriced, and I think this is underpriced. I think this card is underpriced at this specifically, just because all the other ones are expensive. Ace doesn't make sense, and this leader gets really good with the new ST21, which is about probably like 5-ish months away from us still. But you get the Rush Luffy, which works really well with his ability. And so I'm a huge fan of that specifically. And I think this is something like, you know, he's cheaper. I don't think these prices are the greatest, but I think they'll like make their way back down. But even at 17, I don't think it hurts to get this, especially when this is the most playable of these two. And obviously Ace is more iconic, but this one has more playability in my opinion. But we do know EBO2 Ace has one card of support coming, and from our understanding, Whitebeard and Ace is going to be a blue leader, so there could be more support on the blue side as well. So that is something to keep your eyes on when it comes to this leader. Then, of course, talking Bandai Card Fest, wanted to kind of just touch on this. It's easier to buy the leader. Actually, some really good prices. They had it in stock the whole weekend, and there was a ton of people. I'm sure that a lot of these deals are going to get up over time, and then they'll find their way back. But everyone, of course, is looking to recoup their money, and so these are going to see a decent amount of drop-off. Like, you know, the Luffy leader alone is like $30, and you get all of these for like cheap. I would, at this point, recommend just picking up the full collection. Again, a decent amount here. I've seen some decent prices just all over. I don't, you know, obviously, again, everybody wants to recoup. This was the last exclusive item in stock, along with, like, the memory set. So, if you're looking for one of these, definitely pick it up. Or you could wait. There's after Mexico. After Mexico. Then we're done. Bandai Card Fests are done. And then, you know, it is what it is. But there's a ton of these. Rayleigh. We wanted to talk about Rayleigh here. Rayleigh. Because he's coming down just a little bit. He was peaking in the 40s. And now he's down a little bit. Maybe because of Shanks' overall underperformance in the main event. But if you're looking to get these, they are a little bit cheaper now. You might even be able to get them, like, you know, maybe 35. Maybe even locally, you might even be able to swing a 30. Like, 30, 30, 30, and then you're getting them for way cheaper than you would have. Like, if you get all of them at 30, like, locally from local people, at 4, that's 120 versus 160, you save $40. Dragon's on the up and up a little bit. I don't know if Bello Betty had anything to do with it. Of course, still a little bit away from our peak, but $10 super. I traded a Dawn for a Dragon. Like, that's how much this card has increased. Because, I mean, he's a solid rusher, and then, of course, he's very important in the new Shanks deck, and then, of course, Bello Betty as well. This card is actually really good in Bello Betty. They're like, swing 7, swing 12. You're like, oh, that hurts. Or they're like attached to a Vonkov, play the rusher, and like ditch one, and they're like 7, 10, 9. Yeah, it hurts. But overall, just going to keep your eyes on, you know, he's slowly made his way up. If you have some of these laying around, OP07 has overall become a very solid set with the supers, with some of the yellow support, now Dragon, all becoming decently pricey cards. And I kind of wanted to talk about this Kaido. So the SP of this Kaido got bought out. And then slowly but surely, these have kind of made their way off the market. PRB, obviously, second card in mind, because this is a PRB alt, which, again, their ratios are just terrible. I don't fully understand. Maybe it's the BOA hype in 010. Dang, I just said 010 again. In OP10. Maybe it's just the hype there. I can't remember top of mind if lists I saw. I know they play Kyros. I don't know if they're playing this Kaido. But something to keep your eyes on if you had one of these. Maybe just keep it tucked away just a little bit longer. Maybe somebody knows something I don't. You know? So we'll see what happens there. And then, of course, so something crazy. I'm a little sad. I pulled an SP and I sold it. And all the OP09 SPs. Lucci makes sense. Lucci, of course, coming in second. Everybody wants the alt Lucci. These cards are now $70, selling 70, 70, 70, 90. Solid sales. Yeah, 0074. So I pulled one and I sold it for $40. And now I'm like, dang. It's inevitable. If I sell a card, it goes up. I do it for the people. And then, of course, you got $100. I think this creates a unique opportunity for the other Zorojuro alts to become a little bit of money, just because those are going to now be the in-demand play. I'm really sad, too, because I really want one of these. And now I'm sad, so. And I bought double packs and single packs, and I pulled absolutely garbage at Bandai Card Fest. I've still got 3 booster boxes. I may open them live tonight and upload the YouTube video. I may just make a video. We'll see, because I'd have to do it from my phone to keep the quality decent, so it'll be interesting to see how that all plays out. But now onward, just some cards that I've been looking at. I think this is a big buy. Could it go down a little bit more? Absolutely. But with BY already taking Domain, I think Goldie Rogers is a unique place within Shanks. Obviously, that this could really be something with that leader in mind. But yeah, $6, maybe you're buying them locally, $5. I mean, you know, I always said I thought this card was like around that price point, like a $5 secret. It is the bad secret of the set, no matter how you look at it. But a little bit harder to kind of, you know, get OP09. Like, wave 2's already hit. We're going to have one more wave of the Bandai winners. Bandai Card Fest stock. So maybe even watch this. But yeah, I think at $5, I'm buying these. You know, if it goes down lower, sure. But this card is overall super playable. And until or / win, if it gets a reprint, I think $5 is really nice. Now, of course, I've talked about Sanji before. You know, we got PB and Luffy. This card has just slowly gone up. They did have 3-day 2Y, of course, at Bandai Card Fest. It's probably just still cheaper to buy this deck like locally than it is to pick up 2 Sanji. So that's another thing to keep in mind. I know I bought mine at Target. I'm sure there's still some Targets with stocks sitting on it, because like, you're only buying it if you need this card. But then, of course, Nami made a slight splash. But just something I've been kind of, you know, keeping my eyes on. This card is the best KO card, I think, out there, because it's, you control 6, for 5 you're KOing a 5 and establishing a threat. I think it's one of the best KO cards out there, and I just really like this card. That's why I'm mentioning it. And Black Maria is seeing a little bit of a jump here, which is interesting. If you haven't already seen, they have the Illustrator boxes on Target that have alternate art Marias and a Yamato, which are very cool. And so this card already being $6, you subtract $6 from that, assuming, you know, because that's what it would cost you just to buy this, and you're in a decent spot. But if you do buy one of these, link in YouTube video description. But maybe somebody knows something I don't. But a lot of sales here, slowly creeping up, and maybe, you know, with we just got a peek at some Vinsmoke support. So maybe it's like thoughts around that, and overall the Reiju, which we are going to talk about. I don't see her. Oh, here we go. Reiju, yeah. We're going to talk about Reiju. Reiju getting technically support, but maybe support for other decks, but allows them to use the overall Vinsmoke engine, because you can ditch one of those and play one with like the same name, so you can do it without doing the Don minus at the cost of like a card from your hand. And so Reiju, if any support is announced, may see movement again. Reiju overall as a leader has gone and done some decent moves. You know, here she was, like, where was it? It was like 40. And then she went back up to like 60 for a brief moment and things like that. But Reiju overall, people who play Reiju love Reiju. Now, again, we're talking Paramount and PRB. Of course, Kuzan is cheap because he was reprinted, but this Bandai Card Fest, and this is steal. I'm going to leave these for you all, but I would just buy these. Somebody's going to buy these 6 after watching this video. But Kuzan was, of course, in CrossAI's list for BY, and Kuzan was also in Lucci list I saw. And so still very good. If he sticks, this card is just, you have to answer this card. If you're going second, you play this, your opponent has to answer this, or else every other threat you play becomes even a bigger problem, and Kuzan just gets immense value. This card is just such a good card. I'll stand on that. If you do not own one, buy a play set. It's going to cost you $8. Maybe worst case $10. You buy this right here, it's gonna cost you $5 for the playset. Absolute steal, free. This card is a great card to have. Does not hurt to have one. Highly recommend adding this in. Just because any black deck that they make that isn't Blackbeard, this card is relevant. Your Blackbeard opponent, if they ditch a card on your second dawn turn, so you don't play a Kuzan and draw a card, they're already behind. So. And then, of course, want to mention Bello Betty. Someone went X2, bubbled out of top 32 playing Bello Betty, unfortunately. But this was, of course, one of those cards that went on my tier list as well. You know, I wouldn't be surprised if Bello, showed up. Sadly, they didn't. But they did go X2, which is exactly what I thought would happen. And then Awakening of the New Era. This, of course, you kind of see she got a little bump. Got a lot of really good cards. Is a very high-rolly deck, which is what yellow does overall. But really good leader. OP05 as well, which makes it just a little bit more niche and potential like price driver. Not a crazy amount of sales, but if you collect leaders, not a bad leader to add to your collection right now. Just because Bello is like one card away from being just like the nuts. Because like all the 2Ks, all the new triggers that you don't have to ditch for, huge. And now, yeah, just a huge fan of this leader overall. Not playing against it, but just the overall concept and what she can do. And I just think it's, something worth consider. But yeah, especially if you collect leaders, highly recommend you pick one of these up. Sooner than later. And then, of course, 9 Kaido, a huge star. Not much movement. We're looking at the alt specifically, and then, of course, we can look at the regular one. Regular one's still pretty cheap. Again, I feel like this is one of those cards, this one is 2 Legends. 2 Legends overall as a set is just pretty cheap overall. So do with that what you will. But yeah, I mean, maybe you pick these up from your locals. I'm sure they have a stack of them. Maybe they even sell them to you for 25 cents. But, 75 cents, couple quarters, have this card. You can get the play set. I think 2 is probably good enough, but this card just overall is very strong. I've had this dropped against me. It feels really good. It has its moments. There will be metas where this card is good. I think it's just one of those nice things to have. And then, of course, same thing here with the alts. I know my max rarity guys are out there, and $12 doesn't hurt to have. The lowest it was, I think, was like $9, like right when it came out, and then it went up, and then it was like 14. Now it's back at like 12. Doesn't hurt to have. If I was picking up an alt, I would pick up 2. There's 2 right there, but I'd pick up 2. But yeah, this card had a little bit of a showing as well, especially in this event. TBD how we look in OP10. OP10 is looking super interesting because we add a bit more leaders. But as always, if you found this content of value, you can hit that subscribe button. It helps me out a ton. And as always, thank you all so much for watching.